Hi, I'm Jay Moore, the Chief Collaboration Officer for Prasaga. And I had the opportunity just recently to work with DC Finance and speak at the conference for family offices and high net worth individuals on blockchain and cryptocurrencies. And that conference was actually a new conference, hosted online and also available globally. So we had a very large. So I just got a chance to discuss a few interesting topics. One was to actually give a little bit of background on my experience building a community of video game developers at Garage Games. And that actually was important because I was illustrating how, in my career experience, the key is actually to build community and to find those convergence points between when the product is it the right timing to go to market as well as in the right place, and that's in a movement in a community that's ready to promote its adoption. And then you'll find at 7 minutes 50 seconds that I discuss accelerators versus venture studios and how they're contributing to a faster time to market and better capital efficiency. It's a very important topic for the private family offices to participate in the opportunity that's also happening in blockchain as well. Then again, we're at 12 minutes and 40 seconds, and you're going to find that I'm discussing the Data Grid Collaborative and working together with family offices to promote both local and global returns as we partner with them to be accelerating businesses all around the globe using the Data Grid Collaborative. So then finally, you'll see at 17 minutes and 50 seconds where I discuss gaming use cases for blockchain, both some boutique opportunities as well as larger industry level changes that could be impacted by blockchain in the video game industry. It's an interesting discussion. I may have some controversial opinions. Looking forward to working together with the DC family offices. Have a great day.
We should talk all the Star Wars collection I have here. You would be impressed. But I will tell you just a couple of words about Jay that came from actually the gaming industry as well. So unlike many others, I mean, Jay is a very successful entrepreneur. I believe 4 exits behind him. He's going to be talking about blockchain's global ecosystem is the future of new venture and economic development. I will just say a couple of words because it is very, very impressive. He is a serial entrepreneur. Unlike most of those that I saw in 2018, he's got a very strong track record of decades behind him, and he's most known for being Garage Games marketing director and chief evangelist. So he helped grow a community of 250,000 game developers. I didn't know that there are 250,000. And licensed the first AAA game engine for $100 and coined the term indie games and ignited the indie game movement. So Jay, I'll let you take it from here. I know we are 4 minutes late, so we want.
No worries.
So take it from here.
Gonna go ahead and share my screen.
Please.
And see that I get the slideshow here. Yeah, so I'm with Prasaga. We're a new blockchain that actually is just coming out of stealth and telling the planet. We've been 3.5 years trying to build what is now, we believe, the next 3.0 in blockchain. But what I've come to understand in my experience and in trying to actually do the entrepreneuring that I've done over the years is that it's really important to try and understand where the market is going and not be there too far ahead, or of course be trailing and unable to compete. So one of the things I look for is convergent points between the actual technology or market demand or even consumer trends. And if I can see those convergence points coming, I believe that you can actually create the next movement that's happening. As Denny was talking about, one of the things that I had great success with was within the developer community in gaming. At the time we came in, it was called shareware. and nobody was actually being able to publish games either on console or even very successfully on PC that were independent gamers. And then one of the reasons for that was that the technology was locked up. It was kind of like in the 50s when the studios owned all the cameras. So if you wanted to make movies, you had to go to the big studios. Well, at the time we started in 2000, the game engine that you needed to make the game with would be licensed per game at $1 million each. And you know, the barrier to entry was so high that you had to be an extremely successful studio to even be able to raise the capital to get the technology to do it. Or you had to build it yourself, and that took 5 years. So at the end of the day, we actually brought a AAA game engine, what you'd see that was building the state-of-the-art games of the time, and we made it available source for $100. Of course, everybody who wanted to make a game, they got the source code, and they were able to understand, if they were smart enough, how to build games. Well, a trend that I've paid quite a bit of attention to, you might have seen Unity, which IPO'd recently around the 18 billion market cap, sorry. They were our competitors after we'd come to market. And the founder once said to me at dinner, he says, you know, you inspired us. You did it for $100. We figured we could get $1,500. But the reason they beat us was because they had ease of use. Everybody could get in, make games quickly. They couldn't make very good games. They might work on a mobile title, but it didn't matter. We could make these console quality titles, but it was hard to do. And that made it a very big barrier. So I look at these kind of trends that happen. Right now, I see a couple of trends that are right now getting towards a convergence point. I wanted to bring that up to you to see where there might be opportunity in the market. Probably everybody's familiar with Reid Hoffman's split scaling, how you have to have network effects, how you have to build into the entire ecosystem approach to be able to get enough momentum for a project to be the next Uber or Airbnb or any of these larger scale solutions that come to market. And right now, blockchain ecosystems are just in their infancy, where you've got a lot of startup accelerators and incubators starting to come online. And Brad Feld, who did Techstars, has written a lot about startup ecosystems. And we're seeing that start to happen in the blockchain space. And I think there's a convergence between what's going on in blockchain and what's actually happening in new venture studios. And I wanted to kind of put those two things together for everybody. So there's a whole plethora of blockchain-focused accelerators. There's a whole, now this is just the top 20. There's a whole lot of incubators that are out there. They're doing co-working spaces. These are kind of the big trends in terms of trying to get engagement for developer communities around blockchain. My point here is that this is just a existing model that's happening. Right now, the movement, though, is towards venture studios. Accelerators are really good at spreading a small amount of capital across a wide array of startups, which are most expected to fail. The thing about that is that's a model where it takes between 5 and 7 years to find out if your capital deployment is actually going to be effective and find those unicorns or market opportunities, much the same as venture has. But in the accelerator space, there's a new movement called venture studios. And this allows you to focus resources around ripe opportunities with the right proven, actually entrepreneurs, and you capture it in a way that you get to those 10 startups, getting the one that's going to win and the 2 that are going to survive and probably be profitable, and you can cull the other 7. That increases your capital efficiency. It reduces your time to market. Cycle time is more like 2 years than 5 or 7. And you get the increased speed of culling and low transaction ventures. And I think that's one of the things I look at is when you're taking capital and you're trying to find a faster way to get to market, one of the biggest challenges is that you have a proven team that can actually pivot. You're not taking years to develop the team at the same time when the market opportunity may be getting farther ahead, or you may be missing the window in the market. And that's why I think venture studios are going to be an extremely powerful part of the blockchain ecosystem that needs to be happening. And a lot of the incubator accelerators are going to be tipping towards this new model. And just as a quick aside, you know, you've got both corporate venture studios and you've got independent venture studios. So corporate, they're basically incubating more mature market opportunities in enterprise and in larger scale teams that they're bringing to market. Same principles basically apply with mid to large size enterprise. They're building the teams, they're deploying the capital, their strategic direction, and then that startup gets launched with all the resources they need. And of course, they're also using the same tools to cull quickly. So I guess what I'm trying to make a point of, it's not just your new, innovative, disruptive technologies. It's also taking your strategic capital inside of large organizations and using the same model. So it's a tool that can be used in multiple ways. You see it with institutional capital doing it inside of large enterprises. So what we're doing is a little different than anybody we've seen. You've got some people that have kind of looked at doing this, but for example, if you look at the Ethereum blockchain, they had a separate organization that launched called Consensus, and then they were doing enterprise work through the Ethereum Enterprise Group. And these were all kind of add-ons to the community. They weren't really part of the core approach to launching. And we've looked at that model and said, well, we can get some great efficiencies if we start building this ecosystem in what we call the Data Grid Collaborative. Data Grid is our token, or excuse both our token and our blockchain. Like the power grid, data goes onto the grid, goes off at the point which you're going to do the transactions. That's when you're actually going to need a token in order to transact them. So that's where we came up with the concept. But the collaborative actually is going to be key locations around the planet where we'll have both labs that are doing a lot of the partnership work. They'll be putting the developers, the miners, and the token holders in the same ecosystem. And they'll also be working with capital needs requirements for new venture in these venture studios that we'll have inside the collaborative. And those are funds that will actually be targeted, obviously, to the technology that we're building, but it's going to be giving not just the resources, but the global reach to, like Plug and Play does in San Francisco, to all the opportunities inside the network so that you can go to market quickly and you can get product market fit very rapidly and use the venture studio model in order to build proven teams into successes quickly. So that's one of the things that I see being able to differentiate us. We've got some unique selling propositions for our blockchain, but that kind of gives you an overview. I probably should mention, just because we're right in the middle of our own private pre-sale, so we're taking our token to market for the first time, and we're doing that in order to capitalize our liquidity bootstrap tool, which that's a DeFi tool. It's a weighted market that comes in over a 96-hour period. The important part about that is that the goal is so that bots and big whales don't dump on the initial offering, and that actual humans get to set market price. And our goal there is to actually make sure that our community is the one that are able to determine what the value of our token is, rather than having it just be by external market forces. And that's kind of the theme that we do throughout our monetary policy, is we actually set the value of the token based on our internal metrics, our digital GDP, as it were. And with that, I'll leave it and give it back to you.
Thank you. If you could maybe repeat just your last couple of sentences, because we had some noise in the background.
Oh, sure, not a problem. So probably, so what we're doing is to take a token offering. I don't know if everybody here is completely familiar with that, but years ago it was an ICO, and then it was done on exchanges and became IEO. And now they're calling it, because it's on the DeFi where we're putting an automated market maker in, it's calling an IDO, and initial DeFi offering. We decided to go through a two-phase of that, where we're doing a liquidity bootstrap pool that allows us to set market price without bots or large investors being able to manipulate price because they're constantly adding more DGT in over every hour through the 96 hours till we, and that allows, at least in the current, there was one called PERP that did it. They came out in 72 hours. They expected their price to be at 17 cents. They started at, I think $5, or no, $5. They found their market price at $1.22. And they've been up to $2 to $3 in the last week or two. So they've actually captured that market price and have been able to do it through DeFi trading since.
Thank you. Now, maybe what I would want to ask you, regardless of what you guys are doing now, as somebody that comes with a lot of experience from the gaming industry, and we hear that the gaming industry is getting into the game.
Yeah.
How do you see that? I mean, do you because I don't see the big guys, Electronic Arts and all these guys. I'm not sure what they do in this space. I think it's more the
yeah. So I've chaired a number of panels, and I know pretty much the entire use case opportunity in the gaming. You have to understand, in gaming, we've been in virtual currency for 25 years and creating economies around it. So it's not like the idea of having something like a cryptocurrency is new to us. It's actually pretty common, and so for that reason, blockchain has to actually make it bigger, faster, or easier to do. And I haven't found that in most of the cases. Yes, you can trade skins against or collectibles or cards or that sort of thing, and have a trading mechanism for them that's in a automated marketing space. But the differentiators that I've been looking for really disrupting the game industry hasn't been there for blockchain yet. Partly because our transaction rates are so freaking high. You know, we're using 1,000 bullets a second. So to be able to put that on the blockchain and have all your assets tracked inside the gaming space for that, your inventory is never going to be right. And there's no real rationale for moving it from a standard database onto a blockchain database. So the fundamental functionality of keeping track of everything on a blockchain doesn't directly, you have to find those edge cases where you can either take advantage of it in commerce. So there's like people taking against one of the bigger distribution channels and taking smaller points because they're automated, or there's people that are actually doing a licensing model. It was actually the same guys, Robot Cache, met him down in the Cayman Islands in 2018, and all actually didn't meet him because I'd known him for 20 years, but they were new to blockchain as well at the time. What they're then being able to do is solve the problem of used game sales. So if it's, even if it's digital, when you go to sell that title to somebody else, it's on the blockchain for the IP, and then you're able to get that royalty to go back to the creator rather than just be between two humans. That's interesting. I mean, it gives a motivation for the publisher to be involved, which most of these others might be consumer friendly, but there's no percentage in it.
When we hear that the gaming industry is looking into this, it's not really so. I mean, what you're saying is, but
you know, Atari has its thing. It's being used more as a marketing gimmick, and I'm actually looking at doing that as well and gamifying some pieces to make our offering more exciting. But there isn't really any substantial sea change I'm seeing in how, and maybe I'm just missing it, but I just haven't seen where, like, people are selling property inside of massively multiplayer online games, right? So they now have a token attached to the digital real estate, and that's been very interesting. There's been some fairly large projects that have done that, but the so what to the consumer experience and to make it that much more fun, you know, we had that in Second Life, and everybody was making millions with their real estate games back then, and we didn't need a token to do it. So
somebody's writing
what's the differentiator, right?
Somebody's writing that you're missing mythical games.
Okay, I'm sure there's a good dozen of them I haven't looked at. I've been a little bit heads down on a new blockchain we're building, but yeah, it's not that I don't see that there are small project opportunities. That's not my point. I'm more looking at, is this going to change the way video games are experienced in the future? Is this like streaming games with large scale, cloud computing that's actually doing most of the computation and basically giving us a video movie of the game experience? We don't actually do it on our device, so we can play big games on our, that's an IBM deal, or a Microsoft thing, or You see Google getting into that game and Apple being part of it. That's a next evolution of gaming experience. I just don't see where blockchain is actually creating that new. I'm looking for sea change interruption, not. There's always going to be ways you can make a boutique opportunity in it. I'm just looking for something large.
Thank you, Jay. I appreciate it. We're going to have a discussion, one of our sessions dedicated to what you guys are doing. So we'll have a longer hour discussion, I believe this month or next month. So we'll keep you guys updated.
Okay.
Thank you for joining, and hope to see you in person.
Yes, absolutely.
Thanks for watching this presentation. We're always excited to share our vision for the data grid blockchain and how Prasaga is out to change the future. We invite you to join us either on Telegram or come over on Discord, where we're having a discussion and creating a better future, discussing it with our community and with the experts that are actually helping us build this together. As with any YouTube video, we invite you to actually subscribe down below, like the video, and if you want to see more, turn on notifications and double click the bell so that you get notified anytime we post additional content. Join us in actually changing the world through the data grid blockchain.